Shoot. So, we are doing the ethics of data mining, little agenda, and then here's the overview.
So data mining is a term used to describe the process of gathering large amounts of data and sorting through it using particular models and pattern recognition techniques to find hidden anomalies, trends, and relationships in datasets. Data mining consists of a four-step process, which includes gathering data compromised from multiple sources and databases, prepping the data, which pre-processes it and cleans it to fix any issues with the quality and or internal errors, then mining it. Once the data is cleaned, it is then mined using the preferred technique of the data scientist, which is executed by algorithms. And then the results from those algorithms leads to the fourth and final step called analyzation, where the data scientist or team of scientists um, create analytical models based on the results from the algorithms that drive decision making for businesses um, like marketing and supply chain management. Data mining is used for a plethora of functions, from finding patterns in consumer engagement and preferences to assessing risk management when it comes to investment or cybersecurity.
Right, and then going into the history of data mining, um, I found that it was started around the 1990s due to the large increase in popularity for the internet used during that time. And right around then, companies began using new technology to intake large amounts of data and generally put them into brand new NoSQL databases. This allowed them to intake data very quickly and process it also very quickly. Um, Due to this, companies were able to use this very early form of data mining to collect info on what people had bought and offer recommendations based on that. So it was mainly used for advertisements early on. It was, however, not extremely effective um, during that time, as it did accurately recommend products. However, it usually over recommended, or if it found something that somebody didn't like, it maybe completely wiped the board. This is just due there wasn't enough data being on people then on certain things. This changed as time went on, and then data mining became used for many other things to get many recommendations for many different people, much more accurate, and it was less guesses and more actually based on um, the data that was available later on. So, yes.
So we each discovered some general issues involving data mining, and I looked into the use of data mining by private health insurance companies. And the main issues that I found were the de-individualization of customers. So basically, they just treated their customers as if they were just data from the data found by mining. The secondary use of information, which would just be using any of the data mined for unrelated purposes, such as advertising by selling it to other companies. Price discrimination and cherry picking. So insurance companies can give customers with less health concerns the cheaper services, and then giving people who may need more help a more expensive plan, which is pretty unfair to their customers. And then the lack of transparency, which not telling their customers what data they're collecting and how they're using it, if they are selling it to other companies. And originally, data mining and private health insurance companies was used to match customers with the best possible policy for their needs and health concerns with the information they have gathered by data mining. But in recent years, it has been more about making money and selling it and just kind of not being completely open to their customers.
Another general issue associated with data mining is the use of cookies, specifically mining cookies that violate your privacy. You see, not all cookies violate your privacy like strictly necessary cookies, yet other types do go on to analyze your online behavior outside their originated session, gathering information on you completely unrelated to your direct business on their originating domain. This information is then gone on to be sold and analyzed by other companies, some that you would have no business in wanting to obtain your private information. However, they do, and they do so often, all because you click a slider on or press yes to a pop up window asking if you accept a complete violation of privacy disguised as a nice, tasty treat called cookies.
And then I went into the tracking and selling data of mobile app users. So many free mobile apps do collect data. It's often asking for your location as well. Um, this data, they do say they don't sell the data directly, which is generally true. However, almost all these companies do sell access to this data, still letting other companies then process it and identify you from it. Some apps do make it very clear what they're getting from you, what they're selling, but oftentimes it is very behind the scenes or misleading about what you're agreeing to or what is actually being collected and done with any data you give them. It also is generally not ever directly correlated to you when the company takes it or sells it. However, with the vast amount of data that is out there and is being bought and collected now, all this location data can be narrowed down very easily to you and can be used to track you pretty easily.
So now moving on to the rest of our three-step analysis pertaining to my issue, the main groups involved would be um, anyone insured by private health insurance companies. So specifically within my case, it'd be those in the United States and Australia. So private health insurance companies and the employees, and the supporters and opponents of private health insurance information exchange. So then, going into the trade-offs, private healthcare companies are able to use data mining to detect fraud and potentially recover the money lost. They're able to detect high-risk customers and potentially underdiagnosed patients. Um, when collecting data such as physical health, genetic information, mental health, it can help to find customers better insurance plans suited for their needs. But the information, if sold to other companies for advertising purposes, it could potentially affect the employment, employability, creditworthiness, and the future um, ability to get insurance for the customer. And linking databases for data mining can potentially save the costs of private health insurance companies, but it is um, making it easier for the data to be duplicated and shared with others. Um, and then cherry picking, which was discussed earlier, it can lead to some customers being chosen over others, and then the remaining are giving higher insurance premiums or being denied insurance coverage overall. And then the main value of data mining within private health insurance is to match the customers with the right insurance policy. But over the years, companies have started to use data mining as another form of profit by selling the data from their customers to other companies, which will use the information to target ads. And then some laws or guidelines in place is the in the United States is the doctrine of fair discrimination, which allows the customers to measure the burden of the customer, which in this case would be their health conditions, and change the price of the insurance policy to match their customer's need according to the insurance company. So they're taking it all in their hands and are able to determine the price however they want. And then Australia's privacy laws are heavily monitored and they are required to outline how they collect, use, store, and disclose the personal information. Then moving on to the ethical analysis. Under deontology, I would say that it is not ethical in this case because the entire idea of equating the people's worth to the labels the data has given them kind of completely takes that out of it. But then under utilitarianism, because of the price discrimination, the invasion of privacy, and not outlining how they're using it, I would say that under utilitarianism, it would also not be ethical. Then ethics of care, because they are charging the people more in need more money, I would say it's unethical under that. But with the right policies in place, I believe that data mining within private health and company without oh my gosh, data mining within private health insurance companies could be ethical.
Thank you, Maya. Um, the second situation that was looked at was the selling of cookies. Specifically, the issue outlined in my article was selling first party user data to third party services in the form of cookies. The analysis that was conducted consisted of possible ethical and negative externalities that could be a product of these transactions. Um, the groups that are affected is anyone who accesses the internet and consents to the use of cookies on their browser. Um, the trade off with selling cookies is simple, it's less privacy for profits, which will lead to more accurate advertising, search results, and interface interaction. Um, the values consist of really the true intention of selling cookies. Um, Other than strictly necessary ones which are used to improve website function, is to ultimately understand the consumer and keep them engaged, tracking their preferences, engagement, and commonalities, then going on to sell it to other developers to write more accurate algorithms to keep them engaged with web services, e-commerce, and social media platforms. In terms of muddles, there's a lot of uncertainty. Like, where is this data being stored? How secure are these companies' IT departments? To whom is your data being sold? None of this is directly disclosed by any company collecting and selling your cookies. Um, they just disclose that they are collecting them. Additionally, another muddle that could be brought to light is what does this mean for the future of America when these cookies can track who you support online, what politicians and news outlets you engage with, what information are you exposed to, and how it's affecting you and your online behavior. In terms of laws and guidelines, there are regulations for transacting online user data in most countries, but the strictness varies. For example, the US has less strict online user data protection laws compared to the EU. The EU's major regulation is known as the GDPR, which stands for the General Data Protection Regulation. Their stance on cookies collection and multi party transacting is stated most accurately by cookiesbot.com. Quote, tracking cookies need the explicit consent from users to even be activated and start operating. No personal data from EU users is allowed to be collected and shared by tracking cookies before the users have said a clear yes. End quote. Usercentrics 2023. Using the scope of utilitarian Using the scope of utilitarianism on this issue, on a general scale, the data being collected to improve website functionality and efficiency excuse me. On a general scale, the data that is being collected to improve website functionality and efficiency is done with the consent of the user, which ultimately determines how ethical this data collection and exchange is. Since the user is consenting to give away their privacy rights, the collection is in fact ethical. It is giving up personal privacy for overall improvements for everyone, with regard to using their cookies to help develop website interfaces, more accurate algorithms and search results, and a whole lot more, which will in fact lead to a greater bliss for everyone. In the scope of Rawlsian justice, since everyone who accesses these websites is required to consent to some usage of cookies, the positive effects that are a product of cookies can be felt by everyone, not just the people whose cookies the results are based on. The website uses cookies to improve the individual experience as well as the website and internet experience as a whole for everyone. Um, while cookies being sold may be rooted in some financial interest, the goal of cookies as a whole is to create equity amongst users and have all users experience an accurate and efficient personalized existence while on the web. So, in fact, it is ethical based on the Rawlsian justice framework.
All right. And then, as we go on to the tracking and selling data of mobile app users, when looking at the groups for this issue, there's mainly three. There's the people who have gotten the app and or use it. There are the companies that make the apps and collect the data. And finally, there are these third companies or the U.S. government who purchase this data or access to this data from the app companies and use it to get information about you. Um, when looking at certain trade offs, the main one is due to the collection of this data and the selling of it, all these mobile app companies are able to provide their software for free for anybody, as most of the income does come from the selling of this data. So they're able to offer this to anybody. Everybody's able to use it. However, at the same time, you are selling certain privacies away, and all this data isn't connected to you. However, oftentimes those outside companies do have the means to connect it to you through processing it. When looking at it through utilitarianism, it is generally, I generally found that it is ethical, as when looking at the greater good, it is helping to have a lot of software that can be acquired for free. It helps out everybody. It's able to help out a vast majority of people where in reality the collection of that data does not hurt most people. Most people don't care about it being collected, and in many ways it helps out much more to have that app available to people. So through utilitarianism it is ethical. However, when looking at it through deontology, I mainly looked at the effect the U.S. government has on this issue. And one thing I found is there is a huge policy vacuum for use of location data through data mining. When looking at the U.S. government, normally through policing and stuff, if they ever wanted to track of somebody, they would need a warrant to have officers go around, follow the people around, go into their house. Any of that stuff requires a warrant. However, due to this data being much more of a new thing, to collect this data and track people's locations based on it, there is no need for a warrant. And there are many loopholes to get around any legal issues for tracking people. And this can get tracking just as good as any other searching methods. So through deontology, I found that due to people not explicitly consenting to other outside companies being the ones who are able to track them, it is not ethical through deontology, as it does not allow people to make that choice to be a part of this or not, as they are consenting to their data being collected, but never to other companies searching them out, especially when in any other way, if they wanted to be tracked, there would need to be a warrant in certain aspects of that. So for utilitarianism, it is ethical. However, through deontology, it is not generally due to the policy vacuum.
So, after looking at all three of our different cases, we've found that the general act is in fact ethical as long as people are being informed how their data is being collected and what is used for. So, we recommend that all companies who use the process of data mining um, provide a concise explanation of what data is being collected and what it be used for, displayed to the user so that they can clearly opt in or out while being informed on the subject at hand. So, overall, data mining is not a terrible thing because it allows companies to offer their services for free potentially and even improve upon their services, and it could potentially benefit the users as well. But without adding or changing some of the policies, many entities can take advantage of data in unethical ways.
And then we have our sources, and then we are the good.